Hi, I'm Olivia. I work at the Schoolcraft Connection, and I'm here talking with Michael Allen Herman. He recently produced The House of Ka, and he's an instructor here at Schoolcraft.
Thanks so much for having me. I really appreciate it.
Thanks for interviewing with us. So my first question is, how can you describe The House of Ka in 3 words for people who haven't seen the film before?
That's a great question. I would say Victorian Gothic mystery.
Okay, so how did you come up with the idea for this film?
You know, it's actually based on a book that is written by Bram Stoker. So Bram Stoker famously wrote Dracula, but he also wrote a mummy book as well, which is called The Jewel of 7 Stars. Okay. And my wife and I read that book, oh man, probably like 5 years ago, and we just fell in love with it. The way that it's written, the way that it's a voice for feminism, especially back in the time with Bram Stoker. What's funny is a feministic novel back then doesn't quite translate to a feministic novel by these standards, but it was cool to see what they were going for and what they were doing, and we saw that this could immediately be adapted into a film, and we started to move in that direction. What
was your writing process looking like throughout the process, like throughout this film?
Yeah, so we outline every scene first. My wife and I, we write everything together, and so every scene gets a note card, and we spread all these note cards across the table and very slowly sort of piece them together, where this should go here, and immediately there's a million plot holes that you see and all these problems and like character arcs that don't make sense. But by placing down a bunch of note cards, you at least have something that you can start to work with. And that's sort of the first draft where we start to see like the skeletons of the story. We play with that outline a lot and make sure that we feel good about all of the different scenes and how those are all going to come together. And then ultimately we move into what we call pages, where we start writing the actual scripts and the dialogue of the characters. And again, that goes through many drafts as well. I think between outlines and drafts, we write the film like 3 or 4 times over, where we outline it and polish through it multiple times so that we feel like it's a story worth telling and most of the plot holes are eradicated. What
were some of the things that changed throughout the movie, like from the script to actually filming it, or like things that surprised you during filming?
And, you know, one story that we should share is the very first shot. We were all set up. We had our camera and our lenses all focused in. We were ready to go on this first shot, and it was a shot where Margaret was smoking. You can see it in the movie where she's smoking, and we didn't know that the fire alarms were on at the house that we were. So she starts smoking, and immediately before we roll camera, there's this dee 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 sound going everywhere. And we're like, oh shoot! Come to find out, it was actually a smart house. So not only did it have alarms, but it actually alerted the fire department. So 3 trucks came down the street.
Oh wow!
Yeah, big old fire trucks, the sirens, and I heard them, and I had to go running out there just in the middle of the scene and go, "Hey, fire people! So there's no fire. We're making a movie, and she's just smoking a cigarette, and everything's okay." And they were like, "Okay, kid," and then they drove away. But it was one of those moments where we're like, "Oh no, is the whole film gonna like go down?
Yeah.
Is this the end of this project?"
So how do you think teaching has impacted your work with this film?
I think that the way that I see acting and theater has changed because of teaching. It's shown me in some ways like a deeper relationship with the craft of acting, because I now know not only like when I was taught, I would just be receiving lessons and receiving notes, and I never quite understood like why a professor would say something like that to me. They'd say like, you know, you aren't being authentic or something like that, and I was like, I don't know. I think I am being authentic, you know? But then when you're on the other side, you realize, oh, this is what they meant by that. Because there's been times where I've said the exact same thing that somebody said to me, but I say it to a student. And I now see that come full circle. And I think the same thing happened with this film, where I have been both as an actor and as a producer, and you sort of see what it's like to have given a note and to receive that note. And it kind of comes full circle in a beautiful way, where you see like why somebody might have said something to you, you know, and why it might help them. And what's cool about that is, as you learn that cycle, it just brings you deeper and deeper into the craft and into what is good performance and what is good acting. So I think it ultimately makes you a stronger, more confident performer, which is what I always try to help my students achieve too.
So in your opinion, what's the most important skill for students who are coming into film or theater to have?
I think like the spirit of I can do this, I think is the most important thing. And it's okay if there's uncertainty there. In fact, there will be. But thinking that like I'm willing to figure this out, to achieve this thing. For example, with House of Ka, my wife and I had to wear many different hats, some that we'd never worn before. There are times when I had to pull focus as an AC on the camera. That's something I was very uncomfortable with, but nobody else was ready to pull focus. And so we had to rig it up and make it work. There were times as editors where we had to figure out how to make 5-1 sound, and we didn't know how to do that, but we just had the spirit of let's do it, and let's eventually figure it out. And we literally used YouTube and our friends who have worked in these various other departments of art and learn from them, and then we're able to use those skill sets. But I think that if you challenge yourself to invoke yourself to go and to do great stuff, I think that you find that you really can. It's like you're chasing those opportunities and you're saying yes to them, and that's going to carry you so far.
Going back to House of Ka a little bit more, how has the audience response been so far?
Oh, it's been great.
Really?
Yeah, we've been seeing people of all over post about it, share reviews about it, which is very joyful. I think that you always are nervous when you sort of send out your child into the world. You're like, I hope people like it, but people have loved it. They've loved the Victorian nature of it. They love the performances of these characters. We see that it's a great cast, said over and over again in reviews, and that's really amazing. We recognize that it's not the biggest film in the world, and that it is truly an indie film that was made with a small community and lots of love to try to create this story. But for what we achieved and what we were able to accomplish, we're so proud of it. And I think the families of the cast in particular are people that we're really overjoyed to see the fathers and the mothers and the siblings of these castmates get so excited to see their brother, their sister, their kid, on their movie screens in their living rooms, and that's a huge win, for Michigan and for that community.
Thank you for joining me for this interview.
Absolutely.
Is there anything you'd like to say about House of Ka that I haven't covered yet?
I think you covered it great. Thank you so much for the interview. It was a joy, and I hope people get a chance to see the film. And I hope that we continue to make movies and awesome art right here in Michigan.
All right.